It is time for another edition of Litter Media Live, a special edition for you today. We're going to be talking about the Assistance House. We have Don Czar with us and also Linda Cook from the Assistance House to learn more in just a moment. But first, these words from Tomlinson Insurance Agency.
This is Andy Tomlinson. When insuring what's important to you, our agents are there when you need us the most. Tomlinson Insurance, for the best coverage at the best cost. Visit us online at tomlinsonins.com to learn more.
Talking about the Assistance House here in the Chillicothe area today, and let's first introduce you again, Don Czar and Linda Cook. You are board members, correct?
Yes, that is right.
All right. For folks who have never heard about the Assistance House, where have you been? You've been hiding under a rock, right? Because it's been around since 1914.
Yes, it has. It started with the scientific charity movement, which was a movement from the 1870s. It morphed into a charity institution that would help those with polio, as that became an issue. It was actually started in 1914 specifically. So it saw a lot of things that happened in Chillicothe. We're still here, but we help the working poor. And we really would like to explain what we do so that perhaps people can, in this Christmas giving season, donate some funds to us.
Yeah. For people who aren't understanding of the term working poor, there's a number of people that have multiple jobs just to try to make ends meet.
Yes.
But there are still those gaps that they just can't fill. And
Yes.
that means unpaid bills.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And working poor, we use the federal poverty guidelines to determine eligibility for our programs, and we go up to 200% of poverty. And that depends on the size of your household. So I just happen to have these handy figures here. So for a family of three, which would be a fairly typical household in Ross County, 200% of poverty, the income is just under $50,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And that sounds like, wow, that's a decent amount of money. But when you think about, well, you have to pay your housing costs, right, utilities, you have to have a vehicle because, you have to be able to get to work because you need to be working in order to be eligible for our program. We have clothing, food, all of that adds up very, very quickly. So,
and the price of things has not gone down, has it?
No, it has not. And sadly, even though people, we think about it, state minimum wage is like 10 something an hour, but if you see jobs advertised, nobody's even bothering with that. So, but you need a job that pays at least $25 an hour to make that amount of money. Mm-hmm. And that's not a generous amount of money. That's just to meet your basic needs. So if you have some kind of unexpected expense, an emergency, a health crisis, that's really going to tank your budget. And that's where, we can step in to help people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you are donation-based, but also grant funded.
Right. We look for grants, and we have a lot of kind people that do give to us here in the county. But we're there for when working isn't enough, because most of our clients are working 2 and 3 jobs. It's not like they're sitting around. I have some very nice stories. We help a lot with boots for work. A lot of work needs steel-toed boots. There was a man currently, he was in sober living, and he was starting a new job and needed assistance obtaining non-skid shoes. And he also needed some clothes. So the Assistance House was able to give him a voucher for both items he needed to start his new job. He called the next day and said, "Thank you very much." Yeah. So we have a lot of that.
And you try and find a pair of steel-toed shoes for less than $150. It's almost impossible.
Exactly. It really is.
Yeah. But it's important because these are working individuals. And as you say, some people working 2 and 3 jobs, the reason for that is they might be making minimum wage at each one of those jobs. How many waitresses and waiters do we know who are making less than minimum wage and surviving on tips?
Oh, right. Yeah, it's a struggle to make that. And if you have a child or children, then you have to do childcare, or generally, if it's a 2-parent household, both parents need to be working in order to meet those basic needs. Right. And so you're juggling a lot.
Yeah. And childcare doesn't come cheap unless grandma or grandpa are nearby.
Yes, those are the lucky people.
Yes. Yeah. Now, we've been rolling a scroller across the top of the screen that has your email address, your website, as well as your Facebook page. What kind of information can we find on those resources?
You can find how we help. Most importantly, you can find a donation button there that all you have to do is enter your information. But we help, we have a diaper program also. So we really help almost everybody in Ross County. And I think one of the most important things that we do is keep people from homelessness. And that's been such a big issue here in Ross County, is the discussion of that. I think the statistics say that 16.5% of the population of Ross County lives below the poverty line. That's higher than a national average of 12.6. So there's a lot of people that need assistance.
Some would be surprised probably with how close they are from homeless. Yeah. Because it may be, like you say, a car payment or several car payments they're behind on or whatever. And heck, if you don't have a car and you don't have a home, and you don't have any, I've heard of people, living in their car for a little while until they can get back on their feet.
That's exactly right. I think those of us who lived through the recession kind of feel like that could happen to anybody. Yeah. And so that's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve does a survey every year of the economic well-being of American households, and 37% of households responding to that could not absorb in their budget a $400 emergency. Mm-hmm. And that's a car that probably wouldn't even cover a car breakdown or an unexpected medical expense. Some kind of little disaster can just push you right over the edge. Oh, yeah. If you're living paychecks to paychecks, which many, many families are.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, in my own experience, we did that during the early days of radio and everything. Had a little Dan Jr. along with us, and both of us working, doing what we can to keep everything moving right along and enjoying what we did for a living, but in the same respects, trying to survive as well. And how many of these individuals, maybe they have high credit debt due to credit cards and things because they've maxed out because of emergencies they've tried to handle?
Yes. Hopefully you do have a credit card that can help, but many people max out their credit cards. They've exhausted their families, often are in the same precarious financial position, so they can't loan them money or pay a bill. And so what are you going to do when you get a disconnect notice from the gas company?
I was in there the other day, and of course we have Kathy Sparks, who is our executive director, and Michelle Sigler is our case manager. And so she hears all the stories and does the eligibility, can't say that on the radio. But I was in there, and they stayed late because a lady's electricity was going to be turned off if she didn't pay a deposit that day. And, I watched them run around and get that together and call her and say, okay, it's all right. For this month, we got you covered. And that just gave me cold chills because, it's getting very cold. Yeah. And she had children, and we do prioritize families with kids. So I was glad we got her electricity. I just sat there, but they did all the work. So it was.
And it's
pretty
one thing
awesome.
to be part of the working board to make these things happen, but when you see those that are in the trenches working, like the director and the caseworkers, you really, it hits home for you, and it brings to light that what we're doing has a good purpose.
Absolutely. And you're often under a really tight deadline. It's, you know, they did it quickly and had to do it quickly because their office was closing soon. So it was kind of scary.
Yeah. And Linda, you were saying earlier that you do work with other organizations.
Yes.
If there's someone you can't help, but you know that someone else can, you've got that network there.
Yes. And just to explain a little bit about how our programs work is we don't hand directly money to the people that need our assistance. Like if they need assistance with rent, and we can't pay all of the rent, but we can contribute a portion of it, then, you know, they have a responsibility of trying to cobble together the rest. But we, you know, contact the landlord directly and say, if we pay X amount of dollars, will you accept that and not evict this person? Right. And then we send the money to the landlord. Or when we're buying shoes or clothes, we have stores that we have an agreement with, and we give them a voucher. And they take that to the store and use the voucher to pay. And then the store sends us the bill for whatever.
Right.
So it works pretty well.
And the nice thing is it's helping people right here in Ross County.
Yes.
You know, it's not, I think it's wonderful to give to other agencies that are out of state or in Columbus, but this is really helping our people. And we really focus on that. So.
And for folks who donate to organizations, that makes a difference. Because if they know that I'm going to give $5,000, it's going to stay here and help people that are my neighbors.
Oh, yes. It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and we are a 501c3. This is the lawyer here. So.
Retired lawyer.
Okay. Still pretty cool.
Yeah, so any contributions, donations are tax deductible. And we send you a thank you note with the information that you need to, if you itemize deductions.
Yeah. They're on a mission, folks, and that's to help people that are the working poor and those who just are trying to make ends meet. And sometimes you have that thing that crops up that you, for instance, let's say your tires need to be replaced.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not an easy penny. And maybe you've tried to make them last as long as they will. And then where do I turn? The Assistance House. If you want to find out more, visit their website. What again is the website? For those on Litter Media Radio, you'll need to hear this information. So what is your web address?
It's theassistancehouse.org. And our Facebook is The Assistance House. So please join us in helping people in Ross County, because these are hardworking people.
Yeah. Is there anything we have missed?
I think that pretty well covers it. Just, if you need help and you're not sure, give us a call. And if we can't help you, we'll hopefully refer you to someone who can.
Yeah. Never hurts to ask, right?
That's right. Exactly.
The Assistance House, helping people here in Chillicothe and Ross County. And of course, if you want to make a donation, they have donation buttons on their website and
Facebook.
And Facebook as well. So if you can help out there, that would be much appreciated as well. Thank you so much for stopping in today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Don Czar and Linda Cook from the Assistance House. You've been listening to another edition of Litter Media Live.